So, there are some people you just kind of connect with them on social media and you say, I don't know what it is, but I would love to meet that person. Well, Mariam was one of those people for me. I've just kind of been following her progress and all of the exciting things that she's been doing. She's an author, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's a teacher, and we're going to talk about some of her books today. I'm so excited to have her here to be a part of this conversation. I'll play a quick intro to give a few more folks a chance to join us, and then we'll launch into the conversation from there. You've had so many exciting, wonderful adventures happening and coming your way. And I said, Mariam would be perfect to sit down, have a conversation about some of the wonderful books that you're writing, what led you to write those books, and some of the feedback that you've been getting.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan as well. Yeah.
Is your interest in writing, has that been something that you've always had?
So for writing, honestly, yeah. As far as I could think back, writing has been something I've been extremely passionate about. Books were my friends, and if you love reading, I feel like sometimes naturally you fall in love with writing. And writing has so much power, I believe. Words in general have a lot of power. So imagine taking your words and putting them into writing, I think has been very liberating for me. Not only is it allows you to express yourself, it also allows you to reflect and take that moment to take it all in and just really take in what's going on and say, so this is really how I see things. You take what's in your heart and what's in your mind and you just explode on a piece of paper.
I love that. It's been something that once you're connected with it and you have that love for it, even if you try to avoid it, you kind of find yourself still falling back into that space and wanting to write and wanting to share parts of who you are.
Absolutely. So that's my most recent one.
Why did you decide to write this one?
I was reached out to by another company, and they asked me to write about Eid Al-Adha. They figured I could relate to it. Being Muslim, it is a Muslim holiday. And yeah, that's kind of how it was brought to me. Best decision I've made, writing that book.
And when you say it's the best decision, what kind of feedback have you received since writing this book?
Oh my goodness, I've received amazing feedback from everywhere, everyone in Minnesota and outside of Minnesota. I've had parents reach out to me.
And sometimes books are just an excellent vehicle to create interest, spark conversation, because sometimes people may not always know what to ask, and sometimes you can just point them to a book and it kind of gets them started on their journey to learn about the traditions, the language, the customs of other people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It that's how I've learned so much in my life, in my upbringing. I kind of mentioned before, books were truly my best friends, and I would be curious about other cultures and other people and just things in general, and even how to bake I learned through reading. So I think it's a great way to also share my story.
And I think that's awesome because I think we learn so much from each other if we just take the time to have a conversation. And so many of the conversations that we find ourselves needing to have, especially these days, they feel tough or they feel hard or people don't know where to start. And so then they don't start at all. And a book is such a great way to introduce people to maybe someone that doesn't look like them or doesn't celebrate the same holidays that they do, so that you can kind of broaden your view and then also have an understanding and appreciation of other customs, traditions, and ways of life. For folks that may not know, tell us about Eid. What is Eid? And then what is Eid Al-Adha?
Yeah, so great pronunciation, by the way. Yes, so we have Eid Al-Adha and Eid Al-Fitr. They're the two major holidays on top of Ramadan that Muslims around the world honor and celebrate. And this one that I wrote about, Eid Al-Adha, it just celebrates the story of Prophet Ibrahim. This book that I wrote, Eid Al-Adha, it basically talks about the different ways of celebrating, whether it be visiting family members, or there's something called Haq al-Eid, which is money that sometimes the elderly or somebody older than you would give to the younger kids. Whether it is dressing up really nicely and going out, and it all comes down to family and love and celebrating who you are as a Muslim.
And when the company reached out to you to write this book, who did they feel needed to read it? Who is the intended audience that they said, we need this book for?
That's a really good question. I feel like it is a book for everybody. I feel like this is a book not only for Muslim children, because they get to see themselves within the book and, oh, this is a holiday I celebrate and relate to that, but also for children who don't celebrate Eid, because it is building that connection. Oh, we know about Christmas. I feel like everybody knows about Christmas. It's like now you get to learn about my holiday, one of my holidays, Eid. So it's like builds dialogue, which could be really beautiful.
When it comes to cultural representation and being able to see yourself in a book and to be able to create and write books where children can see themselves in them, what has that experience been like for you?
It has been a dream come true. I just go back to the little girl I was growing up in Texas, and just like not really being able to see myself within books. And books share a story. And the thing about stories, the beautiful thing about stories is everybody has a story, right? You have a story, I have a story, and all the children have stories. And I know it because I'm in the classroom and I hear these stories. So books give children the opportunity to, be heard and be seen, and they scream the message when there is cultural representation within the books. It screams you matter, and your story also is just as important as anybody else's. So I think it really is powerful.
And can you share just some of the reactions that you've gotten from kids that have been able to connect with the book and see the book and learn about themselves in a story?
From what I've seen doing school tours and stuff, a lot of children are really into writing. And when I share my story, a lot of children who maybe come from backgrounds that are marginalized, they are like, oh my gosh, I can be an author too. I feel seen. And I feel like that's what a lot of authors of color have the power of doing for minority children. All authors have the power to speak life into their books and inspire the upcoming generations. But for a long time, it has not felt like that. Growing up as a Black Muslim woman, like a young girl, actually now a woman. So I honestly feel like it inspires a lot of children, and that's the messages that I'm usually getting, emails about, I want to be an author, I can't wait to be an author, can I co-write your next book? I had a 12-year-old message me. He wants to be a co-author.
I love that. And I think that what you said is so true, because what you dream or aspire to be is shaped by what you see, what you're exposed to, what you learn, and books, and being able to see yourself in books and have that idea that, oh, I can aspire to create something like this too. That can be life-changing for a child when they're still in that age of trying to figure out, well, what is it I want to do? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And your books are kind of in that wonderful space of being able to help them shape part of what that vision is for them. That's pretty cool.
We are more alike than different when you look at it, whether it's writing, whether it's you want to work for NASA someday, which I did growing up. I kind of wanted to work for NASA. Just go for it. Follow your dreams, being who I am and how I just went for it. I want to inspire others to go for whatever their dreams might be.
What I wish you knew about my cousin Ali. Tell me what inspired that book and why you felt you needed to share that story.
A family member who is autistic, and it is on the spectrum, and I just would watch his sister and how she would just cater to him and be very loving, and when they would go to school she would be his advocate. Not saying that he needed an advocate, but she would take on that role of having so much pride, like, yes, this is my brother, he's autistic, and so what, he's a beautiful human being. If you would just get to know him a little bit better, then you wouldn't be so quick to judge. And she was only 9. So I felt inspired by that, so I wrote a book about cousin Ali, who is a young boy who has autism, and his cousin, and how she is his advocate in some ways, and she's educating her peers on what autism might look like, what it might sound like. For example, sometimes noise might bother him, or sometimes if things are out of order, he might kind of like react in a way. And granted, autism, there's a large spectrum, and not everyone is the same who has autism, but this is from Sumayya's experience with Ali.
An incredible insight to be able to offer in a book, and particularly a book for children.
I have definitely heard back from parents just saying thank you. We need more books representing not just autism, talking about autism, but like all disabilities. And the most feedback I feel like I've received are from siblings and older siblings, where they are reaching out to me, oh, my brother has autism, my sister has autism, and I can relate to Sumayya. So that's the feedback I receive, especially from school. I think almost everyone in some way, shape, or form can be touched by this.
Your passion for writing is helping other kids see themselves in stories, helping parents have conversations with children. And it seems like all of your many hats come together in this role of author, and all of your lived experiences are lending themselves to this space too.
Yes, I love writing, but I never really saw myself as a child actually being an author. It was always just a fantasy, but I felt like there was a need for it, especially maybe somebody who looks like me. I feel like I really needed to get out of my comfort zone and do write stories where, you know, I write for many of the misrepresented.
What has the process of writing your books taught you about yourself?
I'm the biggest procrastinator when it comes to that, because I will let the writing take control. And whenever I feel like writing, I'll be like, okay, I feel it, I'm gonna go write. Whereas you kind of have to follow deadlines, especially being signed by an agency now. I'm trying to get more organized when it comes to writing, but I was more of that free spirit person. So it's teaching me discipline through this journey, as well as just speaking up when I feel like I need to speak up. Before, I would be quite the introvert, where I feel like writing was my scapegoat and I can write whatever I want. But now I feel writing and this whole new world I'm entering has pushed me to speak up more, to be more vocal, and to believe in myself a bit more.
And your voice is certainly needed. The more people find the courage within themselves to share the most authentic, realist, truest parts of who they are, the more people have a chance to get to know that part of you. Have you been able to use some of your books in the classroom?
So I work at a school where all the students are either immigrants themselves or are second generation immigrants. How is America? How are you taken in America? What is it like growing up in America? That's Ayeeyo's golden rule. That's kind of how it plays into my classroom. They've got a young 9-year-old girl who is an immigrant to the States, and her grandma leaves her with a piece of advice before her family immigrates, and that is never forget basically where you come from and to remain humble and kind. So when she comes and she starts school, she is faced with forms of bullying because she's different from her peers, as in how she looks. She's wearing a hijab, and she's kind of a target for bullying. And the reason for this book is not to share the story, oh pity me, I'm being bullied. It's not that. It's actually how Yasmin responds. That is the message that I'm trying to convey, which is sometimes the best thing you can do is remain humble and kind and remain true to yourself and let others show their true colors, and eventually you can lead by example and they'll follow. You can show them better than you can tell them. Show them by your actions. When it comes to my cousin Ali, we talk about autism. So it forces us to get out of our comfort zone and talk about some topics that we might not have had the chance to. And then Eid Al-Adha, everyone has related to Eid Al-Adha in my classroom because a lot of my students do celebrate it. If not, they know somebody that does.
When you're writing, do you find yourself in the space of how would I communicate this to my children?
I want my children to be kind to everyone, no matter where they're from, no matter what their skin color is, no matter if they have a disability or not, to treat everyone equally and treat them how they want to be treated as well. Not how you feel they should be treated, but how you feel, how this person wants to be treated. You respect and honor them. So that's what I want to teach them.
What do you hope, if nothing more, people take from the conversation that we're having today?
Love each other. There's enough going on in this world, and we would be way more successful as human beings on planet Earth if we just would look out for one another and honestly care about each other and not make everything a competition. I feel like there's enough for everybody, but we have to get out of that mindset of, I gotta get this, it's for me. Spread the love. That's the only thing I can really say.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Mariam. What's next for you?
I feel as though I'm still discovering myself as a writer. Do I want to stay in children's writing? Do I want to move on to young adult? So I'm still discovering myself, but one thing's for sure, I do want to get into the screenplay writing, and that's what I'm currently working on, is working my way into animation.
The sky is the limit for you, Mariam. I'm so thrilled that we had a chance to connect. Thank you so much for joining me today for Let's Chat, Mariam Mohamed, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.